joining us on the line right now. Always love it when we have him on. He's a hotshot producer out there in Hollywood. That's why we call him Mr. X, the Hollywood conservative, because he happens to be a Donald Trump supporter. Mr. X, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing in quarantine in California?
What's up, Mr. X?
I don't know if I would call myself a hot shot. More of a lukewarm shot would be fine. But I'm alive out here in quarantine, just trying to wade through all the insanity.
So what has transpired since we last talked to you? I mean, are people just going crazy there in L.A. and in Hollywood? What are you doing to pass the time yourself, especially in your business when you're really not allowed to do anything?
Other than watching Tiger King, I mean, not a lot. You know, the industry is definitely on pause right now, and it's funny. Like, I'll set aside for a minute the politicization, if that's a word, I don't think it is, of coronavirus and everything.
I think it is. I like it.
Sort of the motives and all that stuff. But to me, this virus seems to be such a bigger deal to liberals. And I think it's because, honest to God, I think they're just lazy and don't want to work. So, like, this is a perfect scenario for them. It's like a one step toward communism where they can all just kind of sit around and blog. And so obviously the film industry is probably the most liberal industry on the planet. So it's kind of like heaven for a lot of the people out here. You know, like, I think that a lot of the more blue collar workers in the country probably are very anxious to get back to work, whereas, you know, most of these idiots in the film industry are just, you know, posting workout videos and TikToks and, you know, reading tarot cards. So, yeah.
Well, you know, let's talk a little bit about your business, because it's my understanding that there were a lot of movies that were in full production and they had to stop right in the middle of making these movies. Can you talk to me a little bit about your business and how much does that cost when something like that happens? Do you restart the movie when this is over with? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I know a number of people whose projects were stopped, you know, right, you know, in the middle of production. I also know some productions that are still going. They're very under the radar, and they're still shooting, which I love. It's like, at least there's some bastion of sanity left amongst all this. But I mean, it's costing the most to the bigger studios and obviously the movie theaters and stuff like that. You know, but it's also crippling for independent productions. It's like you spend 2 years raising the money for a film, and then you start production, and then here comes this virus, and it's just like, oh, I guess we're all sitting around waiting. So I mean, it's devastating. But you know, that pales in comparison to this 0.1% death rate or whatever this virus has. We should definitely ruin everyone's livelihoods and careers over it.
Wait, hang on. I got to pull back.
Unemployed 20 million people.
I got to pull back on what you said. Where are you getting this 0.1 figure?
I'm not.
Where are you getting
that's not accurate, but I'm saying that the overall fatality rate for this is slightly more. It's more than the flu, but it's not nearly what it was predicted to be, and the drastic measures that we've taken have been vastly an overreaction.
All right. Well, let's go with that for a second. So most health professionals are saying that you are 3 times more likely to get the coronavirus than the flu.
You've already lost me. You've already lost me. Sorry. I do not trust
what do you mean?
quote-unquote health professionals. These guys are the most corrupt, money-driven.
Wait, you're talking about Dr. Fauci? And
I like where this is going.
Why are they corrupt? What has Dr. Fauci done that's corrupt?
I mean, aside from telling people they should never shake hands again, like, this guy's a lunatic. Like, he's an actual...
Yeah, he did say that yesterday, but that was ridiculous.
But
other than that,
Brian...
No, but other than that, and then just today, he came out and said, I think that we should start having essentially immunity cards where you can return to work if you can prove that you're immune to the virus. Like, this is actually...
Okay, but that doesn't mean he's corrupt.
Yes, it does.
But that doesn't mean he's corrupt.
And that's what Germany's talking about doing in Italy as well.
No, it does. It does. What it means, fine. Let's take the word corrupt out and use like, here's what I don't get about all these idiots that worship these doctors. Like, the medical industry is a business.
Well, what do you?
We're listening to the doctors, though. Idiots.
Let him finish, Brian.
They're very smart people, and they're good at their job, but they want money. They want power. They want the same things you and I want. It's a business just like any other. I want money. I want fame. I want power. These are the things that I want in life.
Okay, so if they want fame and they want – hold on a second. If they want fame and they want power and they've been doing it for 40 years, What do they want now? And by the way, you said the idiots who worship Fauci. I would say there are a lot of idiots that worship Donald Trump, too, if you want to go down that path. But okay, but Fauci has been doing this for decades.
And Fauci has never dealt with anything like this before. Neither has any doctor in 102 years.
Well, guys, let me pose the question.
I have to agree with Mr. X to a degree here. Anthony Fauci, you saw what he did yesterday. He went on MSNBC, and he praised who after what happened.
All right, so JD,
after Trump 3 days ago said he was cutting off funding to who.
Okay, so JD to you and to Mr. X. If you don't trust Dr. Fauci or Dr. Burks or the health officials that are actually in the know, then who do you trust? Who should we? Okay, so you don't trust them. Who should we be listening to?
Are they the only two doctors in the world, Chris? Are they the only two? Are they the only two?
Is that they're
infectious disease specialists in the world?
Let's let Mr. X.
I asked a question, Mr. X. Who should we be listening to? Who should we be paying attention to?
It's very difficult, and the honest answer is I don't know, because it sucks that we're in a position where it's clear that these are very intelligent people, but that they have ulterior motives. So my honest answer to you is, yes, you should listen to doctors, and I respect doctors, but you have to employ common sense. You have to. If Dr. Fauci comes out tomorrow and he says, you know what, everyone, we're proposing that no American ever leave his house for the rest of his life. You have
Nobody
to be
said
able
that.
to look at that. No, he said we can never shake hands again.
And I didn't agree with that comment, but let's move on. Okay, let's move on.
And saying you can never shake hands again is a major stretch, Brian.
Okay. I don't agree with that.
Keep in mind, you've got 18,000 deaths, 10,000 of which have taken place in 2 states in the United States.
All right, I don't agree with that statement, but let's go to Dr. Burks for a second. You think she's intentionally giving us misinformation? Why?
She admitted that she's giving us misinformation. She literally the other day admitted
2 days ago.
When someone dies and has coronavirus in their system, coronavirus is listed as their cause of death. Ignore the
Why shouldn't it?
Stage 4, because, if they have stage 4 leukemia or they have a stab wound.
So if somebody is in a car and they die in a car accident and they have a heart attack, do you blame heart disease or do you blame the car accident?
I blame the car accident.
Okay, exactly. Thank you.
It doesn't matter, but here's the thing. Like,
you just made my point for me.
Incredibly disingenuous. No, I didn't, because if your point is to spread fear, you can say, "Oh my God, all these people died of coronavirus." Well, hold on a second.
What spreads
so where does that go? So where does that make the normal sheeple that listens to this think? They go, "Oh my God, I'm going to die of coronavirus." No,
well, with all due respect, unlike you, I would rather be overcautious than undercautious. We've never seen anything like this before. We don't have a cure for this virus. It has killed a lot of. Hold on, if I could just finish my statement. It is not cured a lot of, we don't have a cure for it yet. There are people that are dying, not just older people. Now, we have Bill O'Reilly yesterday who says, well, these people were on their last legs anyway. People are undermining this virus. It has been undermined for a few months. And you know what? I would rather be inconvenienced and I would rather be stuck in my apartment to save lives than to selfishly say, and I'm not saying you're saying this, but some people are on the right, to selfishly say that people are putting misinformation out there because they have ulterior motives. Okay. I believe this is a very serious disease. We need to be vigilant. It needs to be taken seriously. I think the president has done an atrocious job. And if you want to go after Fauci and say he has ulterior motives, or if you want to go after Dr. Fauci because he knew the Clintons, I think it is utterly ridiculous. It doesn't mean that Fauci's perfect. He said some things that I disagree with. But I personally believe that Fauci and Burks do care about Americans. They care about American lives. And I personally believe that these doctors are doing the best job that they can. I haven't heard Dr. Fauci get up there on a stage and talk about the ratings. I haven't heard Dr. Fauci get up there on a stage and wants to be congratulated for anything. Last I checked, it was the President of the United States who did that. That is where my frustrations are, Mr. X. I think we need to be vigilant.
First of all, I haven't defended Trump once, but I think
that's true.
You saying that this is a minor
you keep associating Trump with everything else.
I can't hear both of you.
And you calling this a minor inconvenience is actually laughable. I mean,
I didn't call it a minor inconvenience. I didn't. No, I didn't.
Don't listen to what you said. You go,
okay,
I don't minorly inconvenienced by this. No, that's not what's happening, dude.
Okay, you're right. It's a terrible inconvenience. You know what else is? You know what else is an inconvenience? Okay, fine. You know what else is an inconvenience? Being 6 feet underneath the ground. That's an inconvenience.
All right. So Brian, let's talk about the 22 million people in the United States who are battling some type of addiction. You're not thinking about the fact that there was a massive opioid problem before any of this started. I can tell you for a fact, 3 people back in Omaha, Nebraska have overdosed. They've relapsed on heroin in the last week because they can't go to AA meetings.
Make no mistake,
now
JD,
you have
there's
people,
going to be
now you have people at home. Millions and millions of people at home right now who are at home. They don't have responsibilities. They don't have drug tests they have to take. They can't go to AA meetings. They do this bullcrap digital Zoom AA meeting
stuff. So what's
stuff.
your answer to that?
I'm saying there's you have them sitting next to their addiction with access to their addiction, and they're getting paid by the government to possibly to get money to pay for their addiction.
So
how many of those people are going to die, Brian?
Okay,
and that
sure,
along with the possible 25 million that are unemployed. Why don't you think about any of that stuff? All you think about is the fact that right now this disease is killing those who are very, very sick. That's what this disease is killing. And yes, is it happening?
No,
it is.
You're not going to put words in my mouth. That's not what I'm saying.
But that is happening.
Let me know when I can answer your question. First of all, what are you saying? You're saying we should open everything up because of drug addicts? That is an absurd opinion, number one. Number two, I care about everybody. I don't care if you're addicted to drugs. I don't care who you are in this country. I want everyone to get through this. But just because you have a drug addiction doesn't mean we should put everybody at risk. That is a ridiculous take, JD.
Yeah, but Brian, it's equally ridiculous.
Who is actually at risk, though?
And JD, let me say this. Brian, it's equally ridiculous to say that we should shut down the world because some people are dying. And I don't care if that makes me sound
So what's your answer then? You think we should open everything up? I don't understand.
No. Here's what we should have done originally, which was to approach this in a much more sane and logical way and get honest statistics about who's the most at risk to become seriously ill or die from this virus, and ensure that they're very well informed and isolate them. And if you're young and healthy and not afraid of this virus, you should have the ability to work. And I realize
there are young and healthy people. There are young and healthy people that are contracting the virus and getting very sick. We had someone on the show.
There's an astronomically low amount. You're right, and people die of the flu, and people die of the common cold sometimes. Like every time you walk outside your house, you run the risk of death.
Okay, but with all due respect, this is not the flu and this is not the common cold, and you know that. So that's a ridiculous
But we don't
analogy.
know what the actual death rate is, Brian. We have no idea.
And regardless of that, it does come down to weighing it against itself. Because, again, I think that the medical industry is purely based on accountability. And there's not bad people. I'm not sitting here saying that I think Fauci's some Illuminati-esque, New World Order type guy. I don't actually think that. My stance on the medical industry and the doctors has always been the same. I think that, like you, they are of the opinion, let's vastly overreact rather than underreact. And I'm sorry, man, but that's incorrect. That's just wrong.
And do you know why? Do you know why they do that?
No, there's a basic
because they don't want to get sued. That's why they do it.
So Brian, you saying we should vastly overreact. So what if I say we should vastly underreact?
I didn't say we should. Again, you're taking what I said out of context. I didn't say we should.
You need to listen to yourself.
If I can explain,
you literally said, I think we should overreact rather than underreact.
You have to listen to me. While I was saying if I had a two options, vastly overreact or vastly underreact, I would vastly overreact. Why? Because people are going to be alive, less people are going to die, and eventually the economy will get back to where we need it to be. If you vastly underreact, a ton more people are going to die, a ton more people are going to get sick. Does that not make sense to you? I don't understand.
Here's a metric for you.
And you're making predictions that are just as incorrect as me saying if we did nothing, that nobody's going to die. If I said if we do nothing, that a small amount of people are going to die, you'll laugh at me and say that's insane.
There's no person on the planet that would say that. So again, I ask you the same question. Let me ask you the same question, though, I asked you a couple minutes ago, Mr. X, because this is very, very important. If you disagree with me and you think that there is a nationwide and a worldwide overreaction, what is your solution right now today? What should Donald Trump do differently?
It's unfortunately today, we're in a position where most people do feel like you. And big pharma and the medical industry are probably the most powerful lobbyists in this country by a considerable margin, monetarily and influentially. So unfortunately, we are held by, they have us by the balls. Like right now, literally, we're all sitting around waiting for Dr. Fauci and the media to tell us when it's okay to go outside. That's where we're at.
We're not waiting on the media. We're not waiting on the media to tell us when.
And the problem with that,
we're listening to the experts. We're listening to the people that actually
Chris,
have knowledge.
I
you guys
understand
want to
they're
disparage
experts.
the
I get it.
doctors. But come on, you guys got to understand that this is the basic thing, Mr. X and Brian and JD. This is the basic debate that we're having. There are people, okay, that want to focus on the economics of it, right? You want to focus on when we should be reopening society. You want to focus on, making sure that we don't dive into it. No, let me finish. There are people that are focusing on the economics, and then there are people that are listening to experts who are experts when it comes to public health and the medical side of this, okay? And the people that are in the medical field, okay, and that are the experts on infectious diseases are the ones that are winning right now. And by winning, I mean that we're doing what they're telling us to do. We're not doing what economic people are telling us to do. That's the fact of the matter. That's what's going on right now.
Do you actually think?
Am I
wrong?
All right, we can't have four people talking at the same time. That's not how we're going to do a radio show.
Am I wrong about that?
Mr. X, let's go to you, and then JD right afterwards.
Sure.
Mr. X, go ahead.
Listen, first of all, some guy on Facebook the other day said that basically that conservatives are part of a death cult because we're saying that we should reopen the economy and let people die. First of all, I'm not talking about the economy. I'm an artist. I pursue my career because it's what I love. I cannot do that. I can't go to a bar and meet women. I can't go see my family. This is not economics. This is the fabric.
We all can't do that, not just you.
Right, but so stop with the economics. I'm talking about human interaction. I'm talking about the reason we all wake up in the morning. I'm not talking about money like, all right, this is costing everyone money. No, this is destroying people's lives. This is preventing them from doing any of the things that we want to do, that we exist on this planet to do. So stop with the economic crap. I'm talking about the fact that we cannot live. We can't do anything. We can sit at home and be on social media. That's what this is stopping. And so when you do say, are we going to compare that to the medical aspect? Yeah, there is a comparison. Like you have to at some point be able to look at everything and go, we need to be able to weigh the risk of leaving our homes to be able to live our lives. Set the economy aside. And like I said, this disease is what it is. We definitely differ because I think that it has been misrepresented and overblown by the quote-unquote experts. And I believe that because if I was in their position, that's what I would be doing because I want money and I want power and I don't want to be held accountable. I don't want to be sued.
And Mr. X, why is Bill Gates such an integral part of this entire process now? He's not a doctor. He's one of the richest men in the world, fine, but he's not a doctor. Why is Dr. Fauci basically echoing what Bill Gates wants to do? Why is that taking place? I'm curious about that element of it. And then you look at the economic part of it. You know what the rule of thumb is for every 1% of unemployment? 37,000 people die.
Yeah.
Right now it's at 15%. What's that math? That's 500,000 people. That could be 10 times more than the entire death or than the entire virus kills in the United States. Also, you look at 2.2 million down to 60,000. Are you telling me that legitimately mitigation, social distancing is going to drop the chance of dying from this virus by 97.3%? I mean, just as a corollary, as a comparison, the flu vaccine drops your percentage by 60%. The vaccine drops your chance of getting the flu by 60%. These numbers, they just don't make any sense.
Chris,
I have to say though, to Mr. X and to JD,
I'm not finished yet.
Okay, well, keep going.
All right. And then you look at everything else. Right now, we are shutting down the economy. We're unemploying millions of people. We're putting people who have major addiction risks with their addiction, and we're doing it with incomplete data. We don't know what the death rate is. We don't know when the virus came. All we know is what WHO told us and what China told us, and basically all that apparently is not even real. So right now we're making these drastic decisions. We're literally changing our lives and giving these doctors and these these experts, so to speak, despite the fact that yes, are they experts with AIDS and SARS and MERS? Yes, but there has not been anything like this in 100 years. So they're not experts for this.
I'm going to go to Chris, and then I'm going to go to Mr. X.
No, and all of their projections are based on a model funded by Bill Gates and the IHME model through Washington University. So yes, why based on all that information, that incomplete information, are we literally altering the country?
I'm going to go to Chris, and then I'm going to go to Mr. X. Chris,
Well, what I
go
wanted
ahead.
to do is I wanted to chime in on Mr. X because I thought it was pretty cool that he was talking about the human element of this. He was mentioning, but I got to admit, Mr. X, I was having a flashback to Point Break with Bodie, with obviously Patrick Swayze talking about how we are a symbolization of the human spirit, baby. For those people that are floating along on the highways in their metal coffins, you know, we are ones that understand the human element of this. And yes, there is, Mr. X, absolutely a human element to this. And we are all, by the way, it's not just some people, it's not just you, it's not just people in the arts. All of Americans are dealing with this from a psychological aspect. And believe me, once this is all said and done and we're finished with this, we're going to examine what that psychological impact on Americans and American society is going to be. But that being said, that should not interpret or affect how we approach this global pandemic and how we actually deal with it from a health standpoint.
Mr. X,
Well,
your chance to respond. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's the difference of opinion. Is literally the core difference between you and I's opinion is that you personally believe that this virus is so serious that we should curtail everything and essentially stop, like you said, what Bodie from Point Break, and I literally might go surf on a wave right now and just drown myself because this stuff is so stupid. But you believe that this virus is so serious that we should essentially restructure the entirety of society to basically keep us in cages, and I don't. So that's the fundamental difference.
That's not my mentality, though. I'm not thinking about it as putting.
I'm not saying you are, man. I'm not casting any judgment of you or anything. The point is,
but that's not. That's not what I believe, though. I'm not thinking about it in that aspect. I'm not thinking about it as if, oh yes, we need to shut all. By the way, I've never said all of society needs to be shut down. I never made any statements like that. I believe that I think we should be listening to public health officials, yes, doctors, researchers, scientists who are in the know when it comes to this virus and how to combat it and how to make sure we minimize the loss of life. Yes. So if that means certain types, if that means social distancing, if that means that we need to stay home for a certain period of time, then I'm going to side with them as opposed to siding with people who are just making ideological arguments or, ideas as far as, I'm a human being and I want to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it. That's my perspective.
To doctors. Okay, this pertains to doctors. Do you know what the third leading cause of death is in the United States?
I don't off the top of my head.
I do. Trump derangement syndrome.
No, the honest answer is medical malpractice. It's misdiagnosis. It's doctors not knowing what they're doing. And here's the bottom line: is we set aside my contention that doctors are in a business just like anything else. They make very good money, and they make more money when people are sick and coming to see them and relying on them for advice. It is an industry just like any other, and it's unfortunate.
With that being said, the more people that get sick does not mean Dr. Fauci is going to make a higher salary. That's just not factually accurate. When it comes to Dr. Fauci and Dr. Burks, that's not true.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Like this cast them into the public eye and lead to more power and more opportunities for them. Sure. Does it mean that he gets a check for everyone that dies from coronavirus? Of course not. But in the grand scheme of things, it does. It leads to.
So where Dr. Fauci and Dr. Burks, the positions that they are in right now, how could they gain more power?
I mean, by essentially what Dr. Fauci announced today, like having the ability to essentially give people cards that say that they are immunized and to be able to control people. And
how does that? But how does that make him more money and give him more power? They are in tremendous positions that they're in right now.
Right, exactly. And so I'm not even necessarily talking about those two particular.
Well, I am, because those are the people we listen to every day.
Right, but the point is, what do you think their motive is? This is again.
No, let me answer that question.
You think
that's a good question. Let me answer that question. Here's what I think their motive is. Dr. Fauci, Dr. Burks. While both of them may not be perfect, I find them to be both extremely intelligent people, and I truly believe that they want to be vigilant and they want to. If I could just finish my statement without being interrupted, I believe that they want to be. They want to save as many lives as possible, and they are trying to give the American people the best information they have so that people can be safe and they're not buried in the next several months. That's what I think.
So there's almost no reason for discussion, because I personally am way more cynical, and I don't buy into that. Right. And this is gleaned from personal experience and dealing with countless humans. And if you're dealing,
you have that right.
In your day-to-day routine, if you're meeting a lot of these saintly people who only care about their fellows and they're completely magnanimous and benevolent creatures. Cool. You live a great life.
I am. Listen, this is a conversation. Mr. X.
I deal with very many people who want money.
Mr. X,
and they want power.
I hate to cut you short, Mr. X. This has been a great conversation. And listen, you totally have a right to your opinion. I think I still think you're a good dude, and I think you want what I want ultimately, right? We want lives to be saved. We don't want anybody to die. One life is too much, let alone now we've passed 100,000 deaths worldwide, over 17, almost 18,000 deaths.
Yes.
We want the same
but
thing.
I also don't want liberties curtailed because of a few people dying. I'm sorry to say
I get that.
And that may sound heartless, but I don't think we should curtail the liberties of many because of a few people dying.
Well, and Mr. X, believe it or not,
fine. That's what I am.
Believe it or not, people die, and they have died for a long time.
Mr. X, I cannother thank you. Mr. X, unfortunately, we're up against a hard break.
I love you guys. Call me whenever you want.
I appreciate it. We agree on some things. We disagree on some things. That's why we love having you on, and we always appreciate you. Please stay safe out there, okay, Mr. X? Appreciate your time.
All right, guys. Bye.
Thank you. All right, coming up next, he is known as Real Kid Poker, Daniel Negreanu, World Series of Poker, I think 6-time champion. Should professional poker players be accepting unemployment? He'll give us his answer coming up next on the Vegas Take.